Now let's talk about the Indian Army, which is saying 20 of its soldiers have been killed by Chinese troops in the disputed Kashmir region.
Area. Yeah. This is not your bloody area.
This is not your area.
Imagine waking up tomorrow to breaking news. Shots fired on the India-China border. Within hours, two nuclear powers with nearly 3 billion people combined are on the brink of war. China has the world's largest military. India has one of the world's most battle-hardened armies. But here's the twist. The country with bigger military doesn't always win the war. Terrain, logistics, technology, allies, and geography can completely change the outcome. So today, we are comparing India and China, army versus army, air force versus air force, and navy versus navy to answer the biggest question. If a full-scale war broke out today, who would actually win? Let's find out. On paper, China looks intimidating. Its defense budget is estimated at well over 3 times India's. That means more money for advanced weapons, research, ships, aircraft, missiles, satellites, and cyber capabilities. China also finds one of the world's largest active militaries and possesses a massive industrial base capable of producing military equipment at a scale. India, meanwhile, spends significantly less but still ranks among the world's top military powers. But where India stands out is experience. Unlike China, which hasn't fought a major war in decades, Indian forces regularly operate in difficult terrain and have extensive experience along contested borders and in counter-insurgency operations. So while China has the advantage in resources, India has the advantage in operational experience under demanding conditions. And that's where this comparison becomes much more interesting. If war begins, the first battleground is likely to be the Himalayas. This isn't flat desert. It's freezing temperatures, high altitude, narrow valleys, and mountain passes where simply moving troops is a challenge. India has spent decades adapting to these conditions. Its soldiers routinely train and serve at extreme altitudes, while China has invested heavily in roads, railways, and infrastructure on its side of the border, allowing it to move forces faster than in the past. However, sustaining a prolonged offensive across mountainous terrain remains difficult for either side. In these conditions, number alone matter less. It's actually the weather, logistics, terrain, and supply lines which become decisive. So that means that any land campaign would likely be slow, costly, and difficult for both countries. Modern wars are often decided in the skies. China operates a larger air force with hundreds of modern fighters, including stealth aircraft and long-range bombers. Not only this, it also possesses extensive missile and air defense capabilities. India fields a smaller but capable force that includes advanced multi-role fighters and increasingly sophisticated air defense systems. One challenge for China is that many air bases near the Himalayas sit at high altitudes, which can reduce aircraft payload and performance. India also benefits from several well-developed air bases positioned to support operations along the northern frontier. So that means that neither side could expect uncontested control of the skies. Instead, both would likely face heavy resistance from fighters, missiles, radar networks, and electronic warfare. Now comes the part that many people overlook, the Indian Ocean. China has built the world's largest navy by number of ships. But geography matters. Most of China's energy imports pass through long sea routes before reaching Chinese ports. India occupies a strategically important position in the Indian Ocean, giving it opportunities to monitor and potentially threaten critical shipping lanes if a wider conflict expanded to the sea. China has been working to reduce this vulnerability by expanding its overseas presence and strengthening its navy. But still, operating far from home waters presents challenges. At sea, India holds important geographic advantages, while China possesses greater overall naval capacity. A future conflict wouldn't be fought only with tanks and aircraft. Both countries possess advanced missile forces capable of striking military targets deep behind the front lines. Both have developed anti-satellite capabilities. Both invest heavily in cyber operations and electronic warfare. This means the opening hours of any conflict could look very different from traditional wars. Critical infrastructure, communications, navigation, and financial systems could become targets before large-scale conventional fighting even begins. This means the opening hours of any conflict could look very different from traditional wars. So, who wins? The honest answer is probably neither. China holds significant advantages in defense spending, industrial capacity, missile forces, and the overall size of its military. India benefits from favorable geography in key sectors, experienced mountain troops, strategic positioning in the Indian Ocean, and the ability to make any offensive campaign extremely costly. Rather than a decisive victory, analysts generally believe a large conventional war would likely become prolonged, expensive, and risky for both sides. And because both countries possess nuclear weapons, leaders on both sides have strong incentives to prevent any conflict from escalating beyond conventional warfare. In the end, the greatest victory may not come from winning a war, but from preventing one. If you enjoyed this comparison and want more geopolitics explained in minutes, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Who do you think holds the bigger strategic advantage, India or China, and why? Thanks for watching. I'm your host Z, and I'll see you in the next video.